The summer we waited for, and the ending we wish we could forget. Let's all just take a collective breath. For 3 months, we cleared our schedules, gathered our friends, and lived and breathed Cousins Beach. We dissected every glance, debated every song choice, and wore our Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah hearts proudly on our sleeves. The final season of The Summer I Turned Pretty wasn't just a show, it was an event. And after a sprawling, 11-episode journey, the finale arrived on September 17th. The choice was made. Belly picked Conrad. The world, for the most part, got the ending it had been rooting for. So why did it feel so incredibly empty? After the longest season in the show's history, the conclusion felt less like a satisfying sunset over the ocean and more like a slammed door in our faces. Major plotlines were left dangling, character arcs were abandoned, and the emotional core that made us fall in love with the show in the first place felt strangely hollow. It left us with one burning question: after all that time, how on earth did we end up here? The finale split our beloved characters apart, a creative choice that felt like the first sign something was wrong. In one corner, we had Conrad surprising Belly in Paris for her birthday. In the other, the rest of the gang was back at Cousins, awkwardly navigating a dinner party for Jeremiah's newfound passion as a food influencer. Yes, you read that right. Apparently, a single fancy chocolate cake in the previous episode was enough to launch a whole new career path, a storyline so jarring it felt like it belonged to a different show entirely. This bizarre career pivot was just the tip of the iceberg. The show's treatment of its supporting cast, the very people who created the warm, found family feel of Cousins, was nothing short of a betrayal. Jeremiah, the boy whose heart was just shattered, was suddenly and unceremoniously paired off with a side character, Denise. Remember the emotionally charged, 8-episode arc between Denise and Stephen? Poof. Gone. Ended with a kiss that meant nothing. Meanwhile, Taylor was saddled with a random subplot about her mom's failing business that had zero impact on anything, and Laurel and John, a relationship that was a cornerstone of the season's adult drama, broke up off-screen. It was a whirlwind of resolution without any of the work, a blatant shortcut that screamed one thing loud and clear: none of these people mattered as much as Conrad and Belly. And for viewers who had invested in the entire ensemble, that was a bitter pill to swallow. Let's talk about Paris. On the surface, it was everything the Bonrad shippers could have dreamed of. Picturesque streets, romantic gestures, the final reunion. It was nice, sure. But was it earned? Absolutely not. From the very first episode of the season, the show's direction was painfully obvious. Every time Conrad and Belly shared a frame, the world would melt into a slow-motion haze, a dreamy pop song would swell, and their intense eye contact would try to convince us this was an epic, once-in-a-lifetime love. The show didn't let us feel it, it told us to feel it, manipulating every shot and sound to guide us to its predetermined conclusion. But the real problem, the insurmountable hurdle the finale couldn't clear, was the complete and utter lack of chemistry. How do you reignite a spark between two people who haven't truly connected in 4 years? Instead of exploring the fascinating territory of who Belly and Conrad had become as adults, the show chained them to the past. The writers were so obsessed with the nostalgia of their childhood romance that their reunion felt like looking at a faded photograph. It was all flashbacks and wistful sighs for what used to be, with almost no effort put into building something new. Their love felt aged, brittle, and frankly, dead on arrival. This reliance on the past also twisted Conrad's character into something deeply unsettling. The show wanted us to see him as a man so devoted he waited years for his soulmate. Instead, what we saw was a man who seemed bizarrely fixated on his brother's girlfriend, pining over a 4-month high school relationship from half a decade ago. Multiple characters pointed out that Conrad actively avoided his brother and Belly for years because he couldn't stand to see them happy together. That's not romantic, it's a sign that someone needs therapy and a lesson in letting go. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part of the finale was its fractured structure. The show that built its legacy on summer nights, family dinners, and a group of friends who became family ended with its main couple utterly isolated. As Conrad and Belly walk off into their Parisian dream, and later in a flash-forward, return to an empty Cousins Beach by themselves, we are left with a profound sense of loss. Belly didn't get a single birthday call from her parents, her brother, or her best friend. The deep, painful rift between the Fisher brothers was never truly healed on screen. What was the ultimate message here? That in order for Belly to get her fairy tale ending, she had to sever ties with her entire support system? Hours after this unsatisfying finale aired, news of a follow-up movie was announced. And while the promise of more content is tempting, it feels less like a gift and more like a crutch. A movie shouldn't be a band-aid for bad writing. If your television show needs a separate feature film to fix its own broken ending, then perhaps the focus should have been on telling one complete, satisfying story from the start. We didn't need a promise for tomorrow, we needed a conclusion that honored the journey we all took together. We came for the epic romance, but we stayed for the family. In the end, it seems the show, and its characters, forgot that, leaving us all feeling a little bit stranded on the shore.